on 97.7 FM, The City.
Greetings, blessings, and good fortune, everybody. We are battling the technological demonic activity again, and we're winning. Why? Because we're on God's side. Pretty simple. Now, what are we doing here? Who are we? This is the Bitcoin Otter Show. Thank you for tuning in. We're here on 97.7 KCYP, The City, out of McAllen, Texas. We are currently broadcasting live at the McAllen Creative Incubator. Yes, we have drums in the background. Yes, they play music. Yes, they have artists. All kinds of cool stuff. If you get a chance, stop on by. We're here on Main Street. It's Ash, actually, technically, but it's the old McAllen Library. So, what do we have for you today? Oh, we got some good stuff. We got some good stuff, okay? A lot of stuff happening, but also, I really do want to hear what's on your mind because, well, to me, that's interesting. We're going to have a conversation today, and we're going to have our conversation on many different things. What might you ask are those things? Well, one of them is definitely, Matt, good to see you, Matt. One of them is definitely going to be about Bitcoin. And why is it that Bitcoin, okay, is going to be the subject? Is it because the title of the show is Bitcoin Otter? That could be. But also, Bitcoin is a moving, and Bitcoin is a shaking. We're going to be talking is, okay? Well, we'll get to that. Now, where else are we going out on? We're going on YouTube. We're going out on Facebook. Both the 97.7 brand variety and Bitcoin Otter brand and variety, right? We're also going out on TuneIn Radio and the third Radio Garden. Yes. So check those out. You'll see us there. Now, to get cracking into the news, we're going to go with Bitcoin, which is, again, over 70,000. Okay. It might have bumped down. I checked it last night. It's around that it's hovering around that $70,000 area, right? Now, this is from Bitcoin.com. Let me bring you up to date on this one. Remember, I am, as you could say, high on El Salvador. Okay. I am. And their president, Nayib Bukele, right? To me, if we had a guy like that in office right now, we would not be facing the things we're facing right now. You know, high gas, high groceries, all these things. You know, our government can lie to us, okay? Day in and day out. They can pick someone who is the right shape, the right color, the right orientation to stand there in front of us and lie to us. They can do that, and they have. But here's the fact. None of us who actually go to a grocery store or fill up our vehicles with gas, or if you're the kind that actually believes them that electric cars are better, anyone who charges up their vehicle yet pays out the nose and other bodily orifices for a light bill. Okay, if you're any one of those people, you know that they're lying to you. It's obvious. Now, what do you do about it? Well, you try to wake up those people who haven't figured it out yet and are still plastered in their lazy boy watching TV for whatever crazy reason. I don't know why, but it happens. So when I mention Mr. Bukele, President Bukele of El Salvador, it's a positive thing because there's so many positive things going on about and through and in El Salvador, right? So what's going on now? It's a little bit in the negative, but it's also something that's easily overcome. Let me get into it. So Bitcoin.com says leaked personal info of over 5 million Salvadorans apparently linked to Chivo wallet. Now, the Chivo wallet that was given out to all the El Salvadorans that so that they can access the Bitcoin that El Salvador was mining. Okay, so I think they all got like I can't remember the total amount, but like $30 or whatever in Bitcoin. Everyone was given that. You know, they weren't the richest of nations. Okay, but also they're not giving all of their wealth to Ukraine like other nations. I know. Yeah, let that one sink in. So a data hack that exposed the personal information of over 5 million Salvadorans has been linked to Chivo, the Salvadoran cryptocurrency wallet, in social media. The database, available for purchase through different channels since August, was leaked for free recently. Wow. Allowing criminals to use it illegally. David Gerard, a blockchain author and blogger, concluded this info might come from the users of Chivo Wallet, who had to complete Know Your Customer KYC procedures to use it. It stated, it's literally the Chivo sign-up data. I've spoken to the guys who warned the government weeks before Chivo launched precisely what would go wrong, and of course it did. So, like other governments, theirs is very fallible. Why? How? Well, they wouldn't listen to people that told them the truth. Now, do you think it's common for governments not to listen to people? I do. I think it's very common, and I think it's because the government serves the government and not the people. Yes, that's my assessment. So we got Matt. Matt says, I know you love Bitcoin, but what is up with XRP? Do you think it's being manipulated or just a dud? I think it's being manipulated, and or the timing is not right. Okay. Now I know, Matt, you're into XRP. I've got a small bag of XRP, and I enjoy, looking at it every now and again. It doesn't move much. I understand. But the fact of the matter is, I believe XRP is wrapped up in the new currency, the central bank currency ecosystem. Now, they're not ready to quite launch that yet. So I'm thinking that it's a matter of time for either that to be launched, one, or two, the XRP, which is going to be the blockchain that we've been told, right, that CBDCs were going to work on. So it's in between that, because they're not ready to launch it because they haven't crashed their own system yet. They got to crash their system, the Federal Reserve system, the current fiat system, in order to get us in an emergency status, because they got to scare us into it, right? Because nobody's going to do it willingly, central bank digital currencies. So they're going to have to scare us into it. Now, the good guys have a lot to, it's going to be high drama, I believe, Matt. But I think that regardless of the success or failure of CBDCs, XRP is a valid platform, personally. Junior Soto, good to see you. Dan Bauer, love how they changed their EV from carbon producing power plants. Yeah, that they charge them rather. Yeah, they do. Of course. What do you think? What do you think brings you the power to charge your electric vehicle? Carbon. Jim, good to see you. Noe Basan is watching. And Norberto. Also, Mike, you're on. Good to see you guys. Glad to see you here. We're going to have some things to talk about. But first, I also want to mention something that is near and dear, okay, to a friend of mine here in studio, okay? Rene Garza has, and you probably haven't heard me talk about this, but I definitely want to promo this. He has his very own, or you've got a partner, right, Rene? You've got a partner in a comic endeavor, right? So we're going to have Comic-Con here in McAllen. Is it the Valley version of Comic-Con?
It's South Texas Comic-Con.
South Texas Comic-Con. They're going to be here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Renee, from April 26th to April 28th, okay? And Apogee Comics is the comic I'm speaking of, right? So Renee and his partner do these Apogee. Right now, they've got a whole series going on. Trust me, I've got the episodes. I'm buying them as they come out. Right? So it's stuff, and it's local, ladies and gentlemen. We got to support each other here. We got to make sure that when we say we like to encourage innovation, we want to encourage productivity, that we do it on a local level first. It's got to be grassroots. Otherwise, well, it's just not, in my opinion, this is just me, right? But I think that it's not genuine, and it's not building things up in your own community. And if you're not doing that, well, maybe you ought to think about it. So the Comic-Con, the South Texas Comic-Con is going on. And I'll promote it again next week too. The 26th through the 28th of April. Check it out. And definitely Apogee Comics will have a booth. So look out for that. So regarding this Bitcoin.com article, the linked personal info of 5 million Salvadorans, that pales in comparison. If you think that's bad and oh man, those guys suck, whatever you want to think. If you think that's bad, just know that yours was sold. Yes. Do you think Hillary Clinton kept a server in her closet? Right? Not just any server, mind you, but this was a top secret as they get server in her closet, open to basically a pay-for-play operation. You think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. You can look it up. If you Facebook fact checkers want to go on it, Get you some, man. Get you some because it's out there and it's easy for anyone to find. Okay. What do we got here? Crypto news. Chainlink launches transporter app for moving crypto cross-chain. Now, this may be boring to those of you that don't get into. Hi, May. Good to see you. Dan says, and destroyed the cell phones. Yeah, of course. They bleached them was the term, right, Dan? They bleached the cell phones. So if you guys are familiar with crypto, and if you're not, I'll explain it. When you're working with crypto, thank the good Lord that crypto is what they call decentralized, meaning it's not just one company out there. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, I personally have, and I blocked it because I have this thing on there that mitigates cell phone radiation. BitcoinOtter.media@gmail.com. I'll show you how you can get your own. They haven't paid me, so I'm not going to promo them. But the fact of the matter is, you can get two kinds of phones. You get an iPhone or you get an Android. That's the choice you get, right? Bam! That's the choice you get. That's today, right? In cell phone technology, right? We're slaves to these things for many different reasons, but we only get two choices as to who's going to steal our info, right? And let me go into this. I'll go into this in a little bit about the cell phone in a minute, but I'm making this point about monopolies and or biopolies, if you want to put them that way, right? So we've got very few choices in phones. We've got very few choices in, let's say, cable networks. We've got very few choices in even things like, alarm companies. How many out there are actually reputable? Things like that. And that's by design. That's by design by the usual suspects who run the system. They don't want us to have an opportunity to gain the benefits of a free market competition. They don't want it because, well, they're the rulers, right? So, Corinne, good to see you. Danny, good to see you. So, when I go back to this Chainlink thing, what they've done is their app makes it possible for you to securely buy one cryptocurrency. We'll use Bitcoin as an example. And then let's say you want to buy, with your Bitcoin, you want to buy Ethereum, or you want to buy Chainlink, for instance, or XRP or Theta, my favorite, right? So let's say you want to buy something that runs on a completely different blockchain, because there are hundreds, if not thousands, of blockchains out there, networks, right? So this app created by Chainlink makes it easier and more secure to transfer funds to and from one platform to another. So let's see. Hopefully it'll be a success. And it monitors cross-chain transactions so that you know, hey, wait, what did I buy last month? What was it? And then you'll see it because it'll come up in your Explorer window, and you'll be able to see exactly what you purchased, how much it was, all that kind of stuff. So in the announcement, Chainlink said the application is built using its cross-chain interoperability protocol, the standard for cross-chain interoperability. Okay. The firm went on to describe the new transporter app as a hyper-secure bridging app, okay, explaining it is built on Chainlink protocol to bring unprecedented security to users wanting to transfer tokens across blockchains. Very interesting. If you're interested in crypto, I think you ought to check it out. Again, that's on cryptonews.com. Now, what I also wanted to talk about was this biopoly of the cell phones and what happened to me 2 days ago. So I'm about to go to sleep, and I had, usually I wear my shorts around the house. It's cooler, right? So I wear my shorts, and I have my phone in my pocket. So as I'm getting ready to empty my pockets of keys, of phones, and all that, I take out my phone, and there on my iPhone is a green dot next to the microphone. Now, if you have an iPhone, you know what that green dot means. That green dot means that either some app on my phone is either using my microphone or using my video camera, or both. Okay, so there it is in my pocket, and it had been in my pocket for, I don't know, an hour or so, whatever, in the dark, right? So maybe the camera was or was not working, but I was talking to my wife. I was, watching TV. I was doing things, not, of course, broadcast TV, but, stuff on the internet. So the thing that gets me is I have given permissions to various apps to use my phone and use my microphone, but I don't give them permission to do it when I'm not using the app or actively using my phone. So who the hell is watching us and listening to us? Okay? Who is doing this? Good question. And I think the answer comes in 3 letters. Anyway, Dan, couldn't crypto be said to be the same as central banking system? In both systems, everyone can see your money. And I'm trying to hit the see more. And how much you have. So in the central banking system, can you see? I don't know that anybody could see my account without having that info or having the info that leads to it, such as username, password, all that kind of stuff. But with crypto, here's the thing. You can be doxxed, as it were, and all transactions are monitored, or if not monitored, then they can be traced, right? But they're traced to a number, meaning your wallet address is a number, but the owner of that is not known. So you can track wallets and you can see the amount of any given cryptocurrency in that wallet, but it doesn't give you the identity of the owner of that wallet. And I hope that's a good explanation for you, because it's sort of like saying, and these wallet addresses are pretty lengthy. I don't know about the number of characters, but probably 40 or 50 characters, right? So it's not something simple that you're going to just memorize, but also unless somebody says, hey, send me crypto at this wallet, right? And then you know whose it is. But I mean, that's a public wallet, right? So they can, and here's the thing, and I think you might be getting at this, Dan. So let's say I did that, and then I transferred that public wallet to another wallet. Well, then you know whose it is, or you would assume, because I could be sending it to someone else, perhaps. So yeah, things are not, as many people say, oh, so secretive, and you're going to do the money laundering and all that. Well, it's much more easy to track crypto than it is to track Federal Reserve notes that are, out in thin air. Maria, good to see you. Daniel says metadata. Yeah. There's all kinds of data you can follow things on, but there are ways to keep your wallet not only secure, but if not anonymous, then your name's not plastered on it. Let's put it that way. Mike says, well, your phone is always listening. Haven't you noticed having a convo with someone and then you start getting advertisements for what you were talking about on Facebook and stuff? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, Mike. When did that happen? Oh, chicken coops. Lately, I've been thinking, hey, man, I'm gonna get some chickens and I'm gonna have eggs, so that, if the egg prices go up or, whatever, food shortage, whatever, I'll give me some chickens. So on Facebook, right away, there comes the ads for a chicken coop, which I want to give you a public service announcement, everyone. I tried one time to get a chicken coop for $50. As my buddy Al has told me, it's not going to happen. So that was almost a year ago. And you know what? It's not going to happen. So be careful who you order things from. And be careful if it sounds too good to be true. It is. So Dan says NSA, and I would imagine that's an allusion to the 3-letter agencies. That is very, very possible. Danny says it always happens. INS is gathering. Well, yeah, INS might be gathering. I don't know too much about that, Dan, but Dan says, also the microphone is metadata. Yeah. I mean, and who has access to all of that, right? This is all by design, ladies and gents. There was, what was that? There was an old movie about this, and it had something to do with a corporation that ruled there, Medicorp, I think it was. That may have been the, correct me if I'm wrong, anybody, but that may have been the corporation behind in the evil guys in the Matrix. I'm not sure. Let's see. Alex Cantu, good to see you. Talking about wallets, it's not wise to have your credit cards or your Apple Pay or Google Pay on your Apple Pay or Google Pay. Okay, I think I know what you're going at there, Alex. So if you have your credit card on Apple Pay or Google Pay, Apple and Google, not only are they, they're hackable, right? I mean, I don't want to start any flash scare or anything like that, but anything's hackable, right? I mean, not everything is as secure as Bitcoin. As shameless plug. But yeah, I see where you're going with that, because if their database is ever breached, then your information is going to be on there. But What I'm alluding to is the fact that our so-called leaders have been selling our information for decades. Okay. Think about what our current resident did, the resident of the White House, when he had, and this is another, again, Facebook fact checkers, check this out. Yeah, I know you know about it, and I know you want to lie about it, but you can't because it's just so clearly broadcast everywhere that we all know that a former senator did an illegal act, took classified documents, put them in his garage so his crack-addicted son can invite Chinese spies to that rental house and just peruse everything in the garage for a price, of course, because there's always going to be 10% to the big guy. Yeah. Fact check that. Shenanigans. Yeah. So this has been going on for a long time. All of our information, if you think that your social security number is secure, wrong. It would probably behoove you to invest in one of those credit monitoring systems. And that's, again, part of the racket, right? The same usual suspects are all in on this. And they got it rigged. But Lord willing, we're going to have a happier future. All right. We just got to go through this craziness that's called 2024. Now, this is from X. Okay. If you do follow X, if you're on X, right, it's a good source. I call it an apparatus, kind of like an antenna. Okay. So you put up your antenna, you follow these different accounts on X, and they come to you, and you can meter it. You know who and how much it's going to come to you. Like Facebook is kind of like a tidal wave, and it switches. Whereas X, you can decide who gets in, who doesn't, and you can if you stay on a link or a page, so to speak, you can swipe off, do your business, and when you come back, you're still there. Unlike Facebook, I like it better. And it's not censorship proof, X, but it's much. I mean, it's light years removed from the jackassery that is committed on Facebook. And Matt, thank you. Matt turned me on to X first when it was Twitter, right? So Clandestine on X says, Russian mod opened a criminal probe. Ministry of Defense opened a criminal probe into senior U.S. and NATO officials who allegedly are financing terrorism. You don't say. You think some of our senior U.S. and NATO officials are actually financing terrorism? Gee, who would have thunk it? I will say this again, and it's just, I'm just throwing this out there. ISIS is USIS, if you know what I mean. They claim that Hunter Biden's Burisma Holdings, operating in Ukraine, received millions in funding to carry out terror attacks in Russia. Makes sense. Essentially, Russian military are accusing the Biden regime, deep state, this is clandestine, not me, Facebook, okay? You can fact check it, schmuckatellis, of using non-government organizations, NGOs, that's what makes the corruption go around nowadays, to launder U.S. funding. The U.S. Federal Reserve note is laundered? You don't say. To pay for terrorist attacks. The U.S. Federal Reserve wouldn't allow their currency to pay for terrorist attacks, would they? Including the horrific Crocus City Hall attack that claimed 143 innocent lives. Now, according to the Federal Reserve, this is me, I'm sure they're not innocent because they're Russian. Aren't you always evil if you're Russian? Doesn't that jive with what they want us to think? The same method they use to fund all their other offshore criminality. Ladies and gentlemen, why do you think they hold Ukraine near and dear? Criminality is the key. Regardless of who you believe is responsible, says Clandestine on X, tensions have never been higher, and the U.S. and Russia seem to be on a collision course for direct kinetic warfare and thus full-scale World War III. This is me coming at you right now, just as the usual suspects want. They need a war, ladies and gentlemen. They need a war desperately. We're not locked down anymore. They need a war. They're going to crash their system. They're going to do it. Okay? Get out of the way. Take this time to get out of the way. Just, a little bit of perhaps counsel. If you want to take it as that, I don't know. Dan says liberalism, rules for thee, but not for me. Absolutely. Susan, use a loadable card and don't keep a big balance. Good advice. You can lock your social security number for free. Okay. Now, Sue, you may be right, and I do believe you are. You can lock that number. But if they get your info, they know who you are and all that. I see what you're saying. Yeah, so credit. So if somebody wants to take out credit in your name, if you lock the number, yeah, I've got something like that too. So you lock the number, and then nobody can take out a loan or et cetera, in your name using your social security number. Dan says, didn't we support a group in Afghanistan to fight Russia during the 80s? Can you say who's going to get it? Before I say it, Mujahideen? I can. Yeah. So who did the Mujahideen, financed by the usual suspects, 3-letter agencies in our government, the Mujahideen then grew up, graduated, okay? They graduated to the Taliban. The Taliban, I think then they became, what was the one? I'm thinking of one after that. Al-Qaeda, they became, right? And then it's all the same people behind this, ladies and gents. Who do you think created militant Muslims? Who do you think created this whole extreme Islam thing and then unleashed it, especially in Europe? Who do you think's behind all this? Do you think it's an accident that Europe is awash with grooming gangs, especially in England, Sweden? Some of the cleanest countries are now dirt, man. Dirt, I mean, nasty. Look at what's going on in Europe. Ladies and gents, we're not far behind. Okay? Yeah, they're using a different population, but as we know very well, they're emptying out their jails. They're emptying out their insane asylums. We're not getting the best of the best, as the boss says. We're not getting the best of the best. Okay? We're getting the dregs. Yes, there's normal people. Yes, people looking for a better life. Yes, families. Yes, children. Yes to all of that. But the fact of the matter is, this is an act of war. When are people going to wake up? Not the war that we see on TV, not the war that the TV generals want us to focus on, but it's a war nonetheless. It's a war nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen. Convince me otherwise. Just try. So Kevin on X says, Kevin, we the people, he says, former oh, you're going to like this one. You guys are going to like this one. I guarantee you're going to like this one. I love it. I absolutely love it. Fact checkers, get on this quick. Chop, chop, Facebook. Former Italian health minister Roberto Speranza is under investigation. This was the former Italian health minister under the COVID, you know what. He's under investigation for homicide after emails revealed that he knew the COVID. Yeah, I know, Facebook. You don't want me to say it. You don't want me to say what the product of Pfizer, what the product of Johnson & Johnson was. You don't want me to say what they changed the definition of in mid-COVID. You don't want me to say it. Or you do so that you cancel it. But I'm not going to say it. But everybody knows exactly what I mean. So the COVID thing was killing people. Not the disease. The disease was not even, it was nothing. Yeah, some people did die. Very few people did die. Now, you could get in a motorcycle accident, have had COVID in the last year or whatever, and you went down as a COVID casualty. Why? Because they needed numbers. Okay? But here's the thing. Did it. And what do you know? Italian health minister Roberto Speranza is under investigation for homicide because the emails were leaked that he knew it was killing people. And people are still lining up for this thing. They're giving them away in pharmacies. He also told local health authorities to conceal deaths and serious injuries in order to keep the you-know-what program going. Roberto Speranza can no longer walk in the streets by himself in Italy. He is permanently accompanied by police and security and a crowd screaming, "Assassino." One of the favorite patriot groups of the 17th letter, Variety, has said and made this public years ago, there will come a time when these people can't even walk down the street. That time's coming, ladies and gentlemen. These people that are creating this death, that are purveying death in our clinics, death in our hospitals, death in our offices, all this nastiness that is going to finally, I believe, be exposed without the help of social media, like you know what we're doing right now, without the help of them, because they want to censor it, because they're owned by these murderous, evil organizations. So we're seeing it, guys. If for those of you who say, "Oh, nothing's going to happen, nothing's happening," well, check out this Speranza guy in Italy. Check him out. He can't walk down the street. No, not alone, because people know he's a murderer. Crimes against humanity, ladies and gentlemen. Crimes against humanity. We got a guy like that, and we're going to touch on him. We'd like to touch him, if you know what I mean. This is from Fox News. The great COVID cover-up. Shocking truth about Wuhan. And 15, count them, 15 federal agencies. This was written by Rand Paul. Now, I don't know if you know who Rand Paul is. He's a politician. So some might say, and I've been known to say it, they're all the same. Well, if Rand Paul was the same, I don't think he'd write articles like this one. I continue. How vast was the COVID cover-up? The great COVID cover-up, says Mr. Paul. Well, my investigation, says Mr. Paul, fact check it, has recently discovered government officials from 15 federal agencies knew in 2018 that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was trying to create a coronavirus like COVID-19. 15 federal agencies knew that the Wuhan laboratory. Now, let me take you back into time a minute. Let me take us back down memory lane, as painful as it might be when these crimes against humanity came out in 2020. So, we were told at first, and it was laughable for all of us who refuse to watch TV. It was laughable for all of us that are labeled as conspiracy theorists, and it was laughable for anybody who has half a brain. When the mainstream media told us that this pandemic, which we know now is a plandemic, was a plandemic, and another one will probably come, occurred because a wet market in China, wet market, what do you mean? Okay, seafood and so forth, raw animal produce, right, was the cause of the COVID outbreak. Some, invertebrate or other, or in this case, I think they even said it was a bat, was the vector for the transmission from animal to human. Knowing all along, and again, how many federal agencies knew? 15. 15. Mike says, wonder when it's going to be Fauci's turn. Sorry, I'm getting these a little bit late, but yes, Mike, I wonder when. Because you know what? Fauci's not going to be able to walk down the street. He really won't. He shouldn't. Remember, crimes against humanity will have their comeuppance. I'm just saying. This is, again, Mr. Rand Paul. These officials knew that the Chinese lab was proposing to create a COVID-19-like virus, and not one of those officials revealed this scheme to the public. 15 government agencies that supposedly are there for our protection. Like a broken prophylactic, they did not serve. That was me. That wasn't Rand Paul. That wasn't just, I digress. But they're probably not even as good as a broken one. Are these 15? 15 government agencies. In fact, 15 agencies with knowledge of this project have continuously refused to release any information concerning this alarming and dangerous research. 15 government agencies, ladies and gentlemen. 15 well-paid government agencies refused to safeguard us. So it begs the question. Eileen, good to see you. JT, glad you're watching. JT, we're talking about Rand Paul's article in Fox News that elucidates some data, gives us a little bit of information that 15 government agencies knew that the Wuhan lab was creating a COVID-19 like virus. Indeed, 15 agencies knew this when that stupid, idiotic story of a wet market in Wuhan went out, right? This is just one data point, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why they call people like me and many of you conspiracy theorists is because we connect dots. Ladies and gents, we connect dots. So what's another dot? What are you talking about, Otter? Well, another dot is the fact that there was a Dean Koontz novel written, I believe it was in the 80s, that proposed a plan. Well, in his book, it was a pandemic that arose from a virus lab in Wuhan, China. Don't believe me, fact checkers? Fact check it. Dean Koontz, Wuhan. Pablo, good to see you. JT, wow, yeah. So Dean Koontz, it was trending on X back in the day when all this chicanery was going about. So this is the end part. I won't make this any longer than it has to be. Check it out on Fox News, I believe it is. It's Rand Paul who wrote this article. Government officials representing at least 15 federal agencies were briefed on a project proposed by Peter Daszak's EcoHealth Alliance and the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Now, along with Mr. Fauci, Mr. Peter Daszak and all of his EcoHealth Alliance people should never be able to walk down the street without us knowing who they are. Okay? I am not in any way, shape, or form proposing any violence. No. In fact, if you see some of these people, they should not come to any harm from our hands. Why? Because we have a justice system. And just because they failed to use it correctly does not mean we fail to use it correctly. Okay? We cannot debase ourselves to be a Fauci. We cannot debase ourselves, okay, to be this guy in Italy. What's that ass clown's name? Speranza, right? We cannot devolve to their level. We must demand this is my thing here. It has to be just. It has to be public. It has to be a form of justice that will serve justice fairly. Okay, so you might ask me, Otter, what's fair about serving justice to a guy who killed millions of people? Well, the fair thing about it, to me, is to do it in such a way that he can't buy his way out of it, yet the facts will be known. The totality of the circumstances, if you will be exposed for all the public to see. And so it won't be a trial in the public square, so to speak, the court of public opinion. It will, Lord willing, be a tribunal of sorts. Because why? Why, Otter? Why a tribunal? We've got a justice system. Oh, really? How many of Epstein's clients have been placed in jail? We have a justice system. Tribunals, ladies and gentlemen. Tribunals. Try this, if you will, if you choose. Read the Insurrection Act. Read the Insurrection Act. Yes. Try it. Do it. Come back at me. bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. Try it. We're somewhere around midway, and whoa, man, the time has flied, Renee. This is awesome. I don't love how time flies, but I love the experience of being, in a conversation with you all, and it's just, and the time flies. Dan says DOJ just announced an environmental justice department. Wow. Yeah. Environmental justice, social justice, any type of government agency with justice in it means you're getting screwed. Their version of justice and true justice are very, very much distanced from each other. So, coming upon the point, just so everybody knows, you're watching the Bitcoin Otter Show on Facebook, YouTube, but mainly We are on 97.7 FM, KCYP, the city, out of McAllen, Texas. Thank God for free radio. Yeah, we don't go very far. If you're not inside of McAllen, you won't get it on terrestrial radio. But we are on terrestrial radio. As long as, the Gestapo, hasn't shut us down. That said, we're also on TuneIn Radio and Radio Garden, going out on 97.7, right? That's Joe Martinez, the station owner. That's his handle on YouTube and Facebook, okay? So check us out. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Again, if you want to see something that you've been looking up, or you want to add to whatever it's going, what's ever going down, you want to add to the conversation, please tune in and throw in there. Rick, good to see you, Rick, because I've gotten some emails, very curious emails on bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. And there's some things that people want to talk about, and I bring them up, right? You could be, anonymous if you want. But the fact of the matter is, as this great awakening occurs, as people wake up to these things that are occurring all around us, please know that, and this is just me, and I'll give you my reasons why. If you want a long, drawn-out email, I can give that to you. The reasons I believe that true justice will be coming. Ladies and gents, true justice will be coming. It's en route for you military personnel. It's en route, okay? It is coming soon, perhaps, maybe not. The wheels of justice grind slowly, but finally, okay? Finally as in Finely, right? It will happen. And I have reasons for that. bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com if you want to know my reasons. This also is on X. And again, from Clandestine. Rand Paul knows where the COVID trail leads. He has already honed in on the 3-letter agency. Yes. However, I don't think congressional investigation is going to get the job done, says Clandestine on X. These are international crimes against humanity. Yes, they are. Accountability for COVID is going to require Nuremberg type of reckoning. It's going to require a coalition between the world superpowers. I digress on this. World superpowers have got us into the position we're in right now, Clandestine. I don't know your name, your real name. World superpowers, that whole idea of superpowers, that's what's gotten us into this jam. Because the usual suspects have created these superpowers using their super banks. And I think, personally, Bitcoin is kryptonite to that. Why, Otter? You just want to, shill Bitcoin. Well, maybe I do. But the fact of the matter is, Marcos, good to see you. The fact of the matter is, Bitcoin is literally a decentralized project, a decentralized, deflationary asset. Don't listen to me. Listen to the billionaires and the banks that buy Bitcoin. So, as a decentralized, it's everything that they are pro, right? So as the U.S. Federal Reserve note inflates, the Bitcoin deflates. Not in value, of course. Inflation is inverse to value. Inflation is where you want it because the value of the Bitcoin is rising. It's designed to do that, right? So as it is decentralized, meaning in every nation, I think so should be nations. We don't need these conglomerates. NATO, if you don't know by now that NATO is a criminal organization, you need to stop watching TV. Stop watching TV. Okay? Especially Fox, CNN, MSNBC, all that mess, all that bunk. Okay? Look for stuff. Use your critical thinking skills. Connect the dots, as it were, right? So I guess I digress slightly, but Clandestine, I don't think it's going to have to be the responsibility of the superpowers. It's going to be the responsibility of you and I putting pressure on those powers. We are not the only ones who have a claim on the heads of those responsible for COVID. Americans are not the only ones who suffered and died. Some of my brothers suffered and died at the hands of the medical industrial complex, which was owned by these same suspects. May they rest in peace. International military tribunals would be the appropriate entity to prosecute such crimes. But the UN isn't exactly working either. No, it's not. This is an unprecedented situation that requires unprecedented solutions. Of that, I can agree. And where am I reading this from again? This is X. This is an individual, a private individual, calls himself Clandestine. Check him out if you're doing X, right? Nicole, good to see you. And hello right back at you. So these are the kind of people, thinking people, not organizations, not agencies, because how many? How many knew COVID was a lie? How many? If you're just joining us, like Nicole, you might not know that 15 United States government agencies knew that Wuhan was producing a COVID-19-like virus in a laboratory. They knew it wasn't a wet market. They knew exactly where it came from. Exactly. And they lied to us, as they do. They lied to us. Someday they will not be able to walk down the street for fear that we will find them, we will take photos of them, and we will broadcast to all those people who are still semi-brain dead because they're watching TV. Ron Paul, will serve as a valuable asset to drive public awareness about the origins of COVID, but accountability for these crimes might require Trump to be a little bit of a dictator. No, I don't think so. See, this is the freedom we still have. Lord, thank God. We still have this freedom. I disagree. Now, Trump is anti-dictator. What do you mean, Otter? What do you know? He orders things, he says this, and he's mean. He tweets mean things, says bad things about people. Yeah, sure, he does. But the fact of the matter is, Donald Trump evades dictatorship. How does he do this? I'll give you an example that happened just days ago. Okay, the abortion issue. Oh man, the communists were going to lay into him on that, right? Oh, he's making this a stand. He's going to dictate from the Oval Office that no one can get women's health care. Now, to them, killing babies is women's health care. So no one can get women's health care because Donald Trump is a dictator. Well, what did Donald Trump do? What did this dictator do? He did the right thing. He threw it right back at him and said, you know what? This is something for the states to decide. The Supreme Court got it right. Roe versus Wade was a sham trial. Fact checkers, check it out. What did Ms. Roe say on her deathbed? Check it out, fact checkers. What did she say? She was manipulated. Fact check that. So this is what's going on, ladies and gents. It's being done correctly by Donald Trump. He's not a dictator. He threw it back to the states, where the authority ought to be, as according to our founding documents and the founding fathers who created them. The states should absolutely have more rights and more power and more authority than the federal government. We've got it backwards because the usual suspects want to centralize power. What happens when they centralize power? I'll tell you what happens when they centralize power. 15 government agencies knew that the virus came from Wuhan. 15 knew that there was a lab in Wuhan and didn't tell you. In fact, not only did they tell you, they stood by and allowed people like Fauci to lie to us day in and day out as we watched TV lie to us. When someone comes up to you on TV in your living room, assume they're lying to you because that is the purpose for which they are placed there. Please remember that. Anything that comes from that damnable boob tube is lying to you. Okay? Is everything on the internet true, Otter? No. Hell, not only no, but hell no. Use your head. Okay? Use the thoughts that come to you. The God-given powers of deduction are there for you to use. If the publicly owned schools and the systems that produced your ability to think aren't working right, destroy it in your mind. Change it. Figure out how, the Greeks did it back in the day with their philosophers and all that. Those are the kind of things that internet can be used for. Watching cats only goes so far. Anyway, I digress. So on the hour, here we are, 7 o'clock Central Time. Anyone else, if you're listening or watching us, you're probably in the 8 o'clock zone in East, but you might even be a little earlier. Even though The fact of the matter is, we're in the same world. We're living this together. We're living this together, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I'd like to end this show, this great show, on a good note. We got a couple notes here prior to my ending here, my good note ending. The only reason Vic and I put the vaccine was because it was required to attend our youngest son's Air Force basic training. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It was, wasn't it? And I have I don't know if I put it on Facebook. I don't know if Facebook would allow it, but there's a video out there. I, as many of you know, served in the Air Force, and I wonder what would have happened back then, but I saw a group, 6 of them, rushing the prison cell of an airman who refused to get, Fauci's formula. And they took him down. They took him down hard because he refused to get Fauci's formula. Yeah. So I understand, ma'am. I understand. Sue says, what's up with Biden closing the loopholes on gun control? I'm not sure what that exactly refers to, Sue, but what that means to me is there's a red light going on right now. Be alert, as those on the gun range say. Be alert. Renee, good to see you. Why would I say be alert? Because when gun control is brought up, we tend to coincidentally have shooting incidents. Corinne, does Biden even know what a loophole is? Well, I don't think so, Rin. I don't think so. Not at this point, anyway. Dan says Supreme Court needs to deliver the word persons in the Fourth Amendment. Define the word persons, I'm sorry, in the Fourth Amendment. Does it apply to unborn babies or not? That will I'm trying to see more here. That will determine, and I can't get the rest of it here, abortion. The libs say the unborn are not alive, but a pregnant lady dies and a killer is charged with 2 deaths. You're right. You're right. There are a lot of ins and outs, and it shouldn't be a political football, but it is. Nicole said Air Force training graduation. Yes. And she also says, by the way, it is no longer mandatory for airmen to get the bioweapon. Yeah, I know. I know that. Thank God. But how many? And in our line of work, all of you that are watching that share my occupation, you know that our brothers died. Some of our brothers died. And why did they die? Well, personally, and I take this personal. I most definitely take this personal. Personally, I believe it was for the agenda of these evil people. And I'm not just saying evil because, they're bad and they want to get rich. No. These are extremely religious people. But there's something, their religion is one that you don't often hear about. It's called Satanism. Luciferianism, if you want to be a little more sophisticated about it. But they're amongst us. And they especially congregate, sort of like tall people congregate in basketball arenas. Psychopaths congregate in Washington, D.C. It's just a thing, And they also centralize banking systems, and they rob the world of its wealth. Yeah. You want a little bit, maybe a map to the rabbit holes, as it were, hit me up on bitcoinotter.media@gmail.com. I'll have no problem pointing you in a direction where your interests lie, whatever it is you want to dig up. I'm not saying I know everything, but I can usually find a guy. You know what I mean? I can find somebody who knows a little something about something. Okay. Thank you all. And my good note, what is my good note? Well, we're on the right side of the grass. God has given us another day, and we have each other, and we're not going to let each other down. Government, that's all they do. They let us down. 15 agencies. They let us down, but we're not going to let each other down. We know what a government scam is. We know what a plandemic is versus a pandemic. We know now. Let's not fall for the same thing. I thank God himself and his son, Jesus Christ, for being here before you and allowing me to come over the airwaves, come through your computers, and basically say, God loves you. God bless you and your family. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. Have a great week. I'm going to sign off, but I'll be with you. Okay? Those of you that know me, you know how to get in touch with me. If you don't know me, bitcoinotter.media gmail.com. Great week.
This is the Bitcoin Otter Radio Show.
Oh my God, I love you so much.
On 90.